DP and the director will come into the tent usually pretty periodically. I'd say once or twice a day. Um, I had a director that actually stayed in the tent most of the time. I was on a feature in Louisiana, and she liked the monitor in the dark room, and she could actually get a very accurate look at what she was doing. Um, Either it was performance with the actors or composition of the shot. Some directors prefer to be in, some don't. Some are on set. Some vary their time between the tent and the set. Some come in after the scene and actually ask for it to be played back.
Well, typically with the cinematographer, that's my boss on a show. I want to make sure that I give him the comfort that he needs to do his job, and to be able to protect him and to whisper in his ear should I see anything that I find problematic that might pose a problem in post, such as exposure. Depending upon the kinds of cameras that you're shooting, it could be a color temperature setting, your ISO settings, things that are technically a problem that would cause some serious correction downstream. I try to help DPs um, steer away from those kinds of things.
It's very interesting. As a DIT, some DPs like to be right next to me in the tent all the time, adjusting the stop, very sort of micromanaging the situation with a walkie-talkie in hand, telling the operators, do this, do that, with the electrical department, telling them what to do. And then other DPs are much more hanging out with the director and making sure the director is getting what he needs. And if the DP is off with the director, then he might rely on me a little bit more to set all the stops and to do the color correction in the way that he is sort of preordained that he would like it. So there's different sort of schools of thought on how DPs interact with their DIT. Some of them give a lot of free rein to the DIT. Will he want to have aperture control at the DIT cart, or will he like to be sitting with the director a lot of the time? We use a tent a lot of times where we will be viewing the images usually from multi-camera views. So a lot of times the DIT will be in the tent with the director of photography. The DP or the DIT will be adjusting apertures at that point on individual cameras to match exposure. We will also be doing sometimes on-set color correction to give editorial a jump as far as how the image will be looking with the DP stamp sort of on it. So he can have some input into what the image will look like before it goes to a dailies color correction or before the producers get their hands on it. So the DP will have more input. That's very important to a lot of DPs. Some DPs don't seem to mind too much, especially in the commercial world. They'll just shoot the show, and whatever happens in post-production happens, and it's out of their hands at that point. Certain high-level DPs will bring a DIT who's almost basically is a colorist onto the set with them. So they're taking the footage that comes off the camera, running it through a program like DaVinci Resolve, baking in a color correction with vignettes, with secondary color correction, with all sorts of special secret sauce that they apply to the footage, and then transcode that out to use that footage as the final image. So they're baking in a look so no one else can mess with their image further on down the chain.
I will work with a remote iris. The camera assistant usually is probably the main conduit for what our exposures are because I want everyone to hear it. Wireless is nice. It can be very nice to set that all up. For example, on my Warner Brothers movie, or excuse me, it's New Line actually. The cinematographer had 2 wireless Fizz units. Our gaffer had 1, and I had 1. And we would all pull either live or what the appropriate stop would be for that given scene that we were doing, because we had long takes of running in and out of buildings and stuff like that. So it really is, what does your cinematographer, how does he like to work? Others are like on the camera, eye there the whole time. They look at you like, does it look good? You say, yeah, of course, or no, or you never say no, but you like to say, how do you feel about this? Suggestions. You never saying this is how it is. You're always suggesting it, or trying to be constructive in any manner. It's never a problem. Sometimes that's the look they're going for, and you know it, and they know that it's a problem, and they just can't do anything about it, and you can't, and they know if they bring it up, it's a political issue at that point. So, you have to dance, definitely, in this as a DIT. What's technically proficient, what's creative, what's thread the needle in between there. It's really important, because the ones who can't do that are labeled as bad attitudes or not constructive to the camera department, and unfortunately, work starts diminishing in that capacity because they're more willing to work with someone who has a more positive attitude or constructive attitude. I mean, we're not all perfect. Sometimes stress, obviously, can get to you, but yeah, workload, whatever it may be. It's just really try to be constructive as a DIT. Don't.
You have to be very cognizant of who's telling you what and what they're trying to go for, especially if you're doing on-set color correction in sort of a high-pressure environment. Sometimes the DP will come to you and say, I want the look to be kind of like this. And then the producer will come in and go, well, I don't like that. I want it to be more of this. So you have to balance the two out and find out sort of where your allegiance is and which way it leans, and try to diffuse any type of negative energy that can come into that situation.
So the advantage of being on set is that you're present. You're there. You're seeing the scene unfold. It's akin to a painter who paints life. You have your subject in front of you, and you're in the moment, and you're painting. It's fresh. You're interpreting what you're seeing, and you're applying that straight away to your canvas.